Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ebbenflow podcast, episode 19. My name is Ben, and I have a guest with me. It's been a little bit since I've had a guest, and it's been a little bit since I've recorded an episode, so it might be a little rusty, but I'm just going to show up as I always do for every episode, which is just here now and expressing whatever is going to be expressed. My guest today, her name is Lauren, and kind of funny little story of how I know her. So the first time I ever saw her was on Tinder, um, and I think we matched, and I don't think many words were exchanged, but we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. Like I think that was maybe 2019, or it was like before COVID, I believe. But that's how I think I got her Instagram from the Tinder profile, and then followed her, and then kind of never did anything again until like and I went through my whole shit where I deleted my Instagram account because I ended up after a certain amount of time, like I just was starting to follow people that I didn't care about anymore. And so I'm just scrolling through Instagram and I'm like, well, I don't talk to you anymore. So why does what you're doing matter to me? And then kind of took that questioning to like, well, maybe I'm using this as a distraction. Like I really don't care about what you're doing, but it's distracting me from my thoughts. So that's probably why I'm tuning in. So I deleted my account and then made a new one where I only followed DJs because I wanted to see their show announcements. And then I kept my old account. And by midsummer last year, I just checked in on my old account and I saw a story from Lauren on her Instagram stories that she was teaching classes in the Philly area. And I had gotten into yoga about a year prior to that and was interested in those classes. So I started showing up to them in a park, the Ringing Glendinning Park, and kind of became friends with Lauren last summer. We went to we were both at Elements Festival last year and hung out there a little bit, and then she went to California after shortly. So she did her own thing in California. I did my own thing still in Philly, but a year later we have switched places, and I am currently in San Francisco, and she's in Philly, and that's kind of where we're at today. So, Lauren, how you doing?
That is quite the intro. I love the just all the honesty of like how we got to this point. That's great. Yeah, I'm banned from Tinder.
Oh, shit.
But the glory days. But that honestly, that's a great story because I feel like, you know what I mean? It's like you kind of did what you were like, okay, I'm just gonna go to this girl's yoga class, fuck it, da 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 da, send it. And like, yeah, that's what you gotta do in life is like shit's always might be weird, but it's like just yeah, show up as you are. Um, and then eventually all the turntables have spun. I think it's so funny you're in California right now. And I'm in good old Philadelphia out here.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've been good. I had a very interesting day. Astrologically, it's Virgo season now, harvesting, right? Reaping all the things we've been working on. And then I think Moon's in Cancer today. And then Venus moved into Libra, so super great time for like networking, collaborating with people, anything that's about making art or collaborating with making art with other people. Mercury's no longer in retrograde. Like things are like looking up, except we have eclipse season next month. But other than that, we out here. So how's your trip been?
Well, it's been pretty fucking awesome. I was here last week with my parents. And the reason I so I've always wanted to go to the West Coast and like experience probably like the big three, you know, like San Francisco, LA, and San Diego. And I didn't like have a plan or a city to start on, but then my parents approached me earlier this year saying that they were probably going to do a trip to San Francisco, Napa Valley, and Lake Tahoe like in August of this year, and I was like, okay, cool. Like I've always wanted to go out this way anyway, but at that time I did not have a remote job, and also at that time I was looking very heavily. I was spending a lot of time looking for a remote job because I knew that I was just ready for something else other than Philly, because I lived my entire life in Philly, and it was just the timing of me getting a position, a remote position in April of last year, and my parents' trip that all lined up for me to just like say, okay, so you guys are gonna go back to Philly after a week, but I think I'm just gonna stay in San Francisco because I'm already here. I can work from anywhere in the US, and this is just like the perfect opportunity. So yeah, we did the whole vacation thing. Like Napa Valley was beautiful, Lake Tahoe was beautiful, and then they dropped me off here, and I've been here since Sunday, and like it's been really fucking cool, honestly, because I still have work, so I'll work out of my Airbnb, but anytime I'll go on a walk or just like after work, like I'll just start exploring, and it's so cool because every time I go on a walk, it's like I'll just go down a new street, and it's a whole new experience, and there's whole new environments and things to look at and appreciate. And it goes back to the whole like just show up, just show up and see what happens. Just like when I was showing up to your classes, like I didn't really have any expectations of what was going to happen. Like I knew we were going to do some yoga, and I had seen that you're into the same scene and music that I am, and see what happens, you know.
Brave.
Rave.
So yeah, you're really on like the beginning of your journey here. I think you're planning to do like 3 months on the West Coast. Like, I guess like how are you feeling right now about, I don't know, your solo odyssey?
It's a good question. That's a very reflective question. Something I haven't really, I mean, I have thought about, but haven't spoken about. I guess it's just taking it moment by moment. Like I'm focusing on, like, I don't know. For example, I had trouble. There's like a lockbox. You know, the Airbnb sends you instructions to get in. So there was like a lockbox with the key on it, and I entered the code. I got the keys out, but I couldn't put the front of the box back into the back panel. And like I was just having a lot of trouble with it. So I messaged the Airbnb host, and she was like, yeah, you just got to press it down a certain way and fiddle with it. I was like, all right, that's cool. Um, but I still couldn't get it. But then today I thought about it a little bit, and I was like, well, what if I just entered the code in again? So that way this like top latch can go down all the way, and then I'll try it. So yeah, I just entered in the code, put the tab back in, and then it fit. So I don't know, like that's just one way of me seeing everything unfold. As well, I I was walking like on my first day here. I was just on a walk, and I noticed people in a park that were all dressed the same, and they were all doing like synchronized movements. Um, so I got a little bit closer to them and was like, I saw that they were doing this thing called animal flow, which is sort of like yoga. But it's a little, there's like primal movements in it, and it's like
This sounds
quadrupedal.
like it's so up your alley.
Yo, it definitely is. And so I was like, holy shit, I've been getting into Animal Flow since June of this year, so a couple months ago. And I was a little nervous to go up to them because they're all dressed the same. They're all doing the same stuff. They're very in sync. And I felt like at first, like maybe I could be interrupting the group and maybe I just want to back off. But the other part of me was like, but if you do that thing again where you just show up and have no expectations, that is a way for you to have a new experience and possibly learn from it. So, regardless of my insecurity, I approached them and just introduced myself. I was like, hey, my name is Ben. I just moved here and I saw you guys were doing Animal Flow, and I fucking love Animal Flow. And the guys, the instructors were so nice. They were like, yo, like I don't know, like watch us, for a little bit, like to, you can take a picture of us, you can take a picture with us. So I took a picture with them, and then talking to the instructors, they were like inviting me to their classes. So I actually went to like a private one-on-one class yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah, with one of the instructors, and he's just like the friendliest guy and the most welcoming person I've ever met. And it's just so crazy that I stumbled upon that. And regardless of my fear of not wanting to go up to them, I still did. And I had that experience, and I still had the one-on-one lesson yesterday, and I'm going to a class again on Saturday and then another one on Monday. So yeah, I'm not really even thinking about LA or San Diego. Like I'm just like living in San Francisco, or more generally, but also more specific, paradoxically, to here, because that's all I have is this moment. And
would you say that you feel present?
I mean, I am present, and I think your attention can drift from feeling present to not feeling present. And when you feel present, you do different things than when you don't feel present. And I think when I saw that group, I felt present. My attention was more towards what was happening right now. And then I was analyzing the insecure thoughts and kind of like disregarding them, as knowing where they came from. They came from this idea of me, the story of Ben, like the guy that maybe doesn't approach people. But I'm just realizing that I'm not that. um I'm whatever reality is that maybe allows me to move forward despite the thoughts. Yes. So I've been doing a lot of talking here, but maybe to flip it back on you, I kind of want to hear about your experience in California, and you did
Okay,
different things than I did,
for
and
sure.
how it changed you, and maybe reflect on when you got back to Philly, like you just had this whole ass adventure, and it's like now you're back into where old you was.
Yeah, integrating was crazy. Every
Mhm.
time you travel somewhere, that's like, I want to say at least like a 5 mile drive or more for where you live, right? I'm talking like really travel somewhere. There's this sense of like you do come back a different person, especially when you go all the way across the country or even like out of the country and you come back. I've been very fortunate to have been to multiple countries. It was my first time going to California last year, going to the West Coast.
Do this.
Okay. Yeah, we're going back in time. Last year, August 2023, went to Portland. I was there for 2 weeks. That was like before we even got to California, there was so much that came up for me just first in Portland. I stayed with one of my best friends, Selena. She lives with her family, and I stayed with her and her family. And we did some plant medicine ceremonies. We had like a day trip to the Pacific Ocean, went to Cannon Beach, and like did a Wachuma ceremony there. And it was so interesting because like I got to live her life with her, right? I got to see her interact with her family, which all spoke Spanish and I didn't speak Spanish. But it was just so interesting, like kind of living her life with her for 2 weeks. And out of all the people that I've stayed with, she's been the most receptive to like my feedback and like hearing like, you know, where her blind spots are and stuff. So it was really interesting that, you know, I could be so honest with her and be like, oh, like your friend so and so, like, you know, me calling out to her saying like, hey, this person's not a real friend to you. And her actually being like, oh, you're right. Like, you know, thank you for telling me, or like, you know, like, and I feel like most people, they don't match my energy in that way, like desire to grow and always self-improve, which I feel like the average person, it's like like I don't know, like wildfire to them. So I was so grateful to spend time with that friend, and it was very like heartbreaking to leave Portland. But then I had to get on a train and go to an ashram in California. So I went from doing plant medicine with my shaman friend to being in the most abstinent place ever. And the ashram was an emotional roller coaster. Like I just like it was such a heavily structured environment. Like your whole day was planned for you every single day. Tons of physical labor, tons of walking, doing dishes, gardening, like so much stuff that like I would get like burnt out, I guess, from like doing all this stuff. And like there were 2 days where I locked myself in my room. I didn't even leave. And like embarrassing part, I like took a bunch of paper cups from the cafeteria and I like didn't want to leave my room. So I would just pee in these cups and just hide in there. And I was like depressed for like 2 days.
Were you burnt out mentally, or physically, or both?
Everything, like spiritually, emotionally. It was just like, because it's like a high, quote unquote, it's a high vibe place, but like there was so much like petty bullshit stuff that I was also dealing with. Like, you know, like any, you know, people anywhere, like even though it's an ashram, your people are still fucking people, was like the craziest thing to me. But there were really a high vibe people there too. But there's just so much to unpack with with the ashram, honestly.
So,
my favorite,
okay,
yeah.
sorry.
No, you're
Oh,
good.
I was just gonna say, it may be people would maybe have an expectation of going to some retreat environment like that where people are high spirited, high vibration. But I mean, I think there's a kind of a trap with like telling yourself that you are a highly vibrational being, because you're kind of like maintaining that idea of you, and some that could separate you from the rest of reality. And the rest of reality is like not, it's the reality is everything. It's not just the joyous, highly spiritual. It's also like being in the shit, being caught up in self-judgment and self-doubt. And
Yeah.
people can resist that even at these even in these environments.
Yeah, I feel like, and then like on the more self-reflective part about myself, because there are certain people there who are like really like, I want to say socially bland, but like it's not like a bad thing. Like they just like they didn't use sarcasm. Like they were coming from a place where like they just always speak very nicely and very directly, and there's just, and so me coming from my specific upbringing, it's like everything's a joke, everything's sarcasm, everything's this, and this. So I noticed immediately with these people, oh, am I being mean by being myself? Which was a really weird thing.
Mm.
And I had multiple moments where like I would say something that normally in a crowd would like kill. Like it was a great punchline, or like it was like someone had a setup and I just like took the punchline or something. But like these people, it's like they're not like about that, you know? They're like, oh, well, like and I'm not saying like they're like being better than us by like da 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 da, but it was just interesting. Like they were just living in a different world. I also noticed because they're secluded, they live in a mountain with no society. Like they have their own goats, they farm their own food, like they don't interact with society. And they were saying how like they can only live there, like not out in the world. And for me, it's like the whole point of being spiritual is to bring that to the world. So it was weird to me that I'm like, okay, you just want to like, I get it, you want a safe place to be spiritual. And it's nice to create this retreat that people can come to and be spiritual, but I feel like for me personally, the real work is like having this awareness, this growth and stuff, and then bringing that into like the Maya, or like the, into the cities and the life and I don't know. It was just like a very interesting thing.
I totally resonate a lot with what you're saying. Because not like kind of similarly, I was on a few retreats as well, where it's just like you realize that life can be lived so differently, so much differently than your day to day, where you have like environments and people that do not share the same, maybe like hustle and grind mentality, especially in the East Coast. But I think at the end of my like, it was fantastic. They were fantastic experiences to go on these retreats, to realize that there is more ways that you can live life. But at the end, I kind of felt ready to return to like my life, and like apply the lessons that I had learned at the retreat. And like you have like images of monks in monasteries sitting up on mountains, just living completely isolated from society. And while that may be a peaceful life, you don't really have much opportunity to apply your insights. And I feel like the application, just kind of what you're saying, is that's really, for me, like that's like the fun part, because it's like, oh, I'm in a grocery store and people are like, I'm in line and people behind me are pissed that the cashier is going too slow, but I'm just there and I'm like, but there's nowhere to go. Like that, you can let the cashier work. You don't have to judge them. You don't have to judge yourself for being in a slow line. Why can't you just kind of stand there and take it all in?
So how do you like, yeah, you have this awareness of the situation, but like, how do you like for example, like I feel like a great example is like with road rage and someone's like driving really close behind you and they're really trying to like make you go faster. And like I just want to be petty and be like, well, now I'm gonna go really slow because this person's up my ass. I need to teach them a spiritual lesson. Like, I don't know, like how do you find yourself in these situations where like, you're in the Maya, right? All this stuff's happening. You're have the awareness to see how everyone's like, go, 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 go.
Yep.
Do you do anything? Do you just keep the do you I guess you can't really tell people because people have to learn for themselves.
Yes. So I would say in the road rage example, and you're saying I'm gonna maybe brake check them to teach them a lesson. I would,
Break checking them, but I'm like, well, I'm not gonna let them ruin my vibe. I'm chilling.
I got you. So if you decide to slow down, to be petty, then they kind of have ruined your vibe. Um, and
But
I
what if
would
it's like what if it's like fun? What if it's like, oh, now it's a game?
huh. Well, then I guess you can go through that. You don't have to judge yourself for it, and that's just how you handled the situation. Um, maybe you like being petty. There's
I
like
know
nothing.
I love being petty, and it's like, how do like do I have to not? Like, do I have to like, it's like being petty is like fun.
Yeah, no, it is fun to like, I don't know, poke at others to teach them a lesson or diminish their experience. But I mean, wouldn't you be like, what, do you think you're diminishing your own experience when you are being petty, as opposed to
It's
seeing where
possible.
their behavior comes from?
Well, I see where their behavior comes from. Like they've been raised in this capitalist society where time is money, and like if you're, you have to speed on the highway and drive as fast as you can so you can serve around 80 people, and so you can break all the rules because you're a rich white person, so you're allowed to break all the rules and and go 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 capitalism.
Mhm.
Like
And
I get it. I get it. It's fun driving fast. It's fun being really close behind another car because it makes sometimes it does make me really uncomfortable when someone's like all of a sudden they're like really close behind me and I'm on the highway. I'm like, this feels kind of dangerous and unsafe.
it does. And I would say like re removing yourself from that situation would maybe remove the danger as well. But I would, I think a question I would ask is like, who are you teaching by doing that? Because that person's you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, they're gonna, they'll probably keep doing that behavior, um, regardless if you slow down or just change lanes to let them pass until they get to a point where like it doesn't make sense to rush like that anymore. And that may not happen to everyone. People will go their whole lives rushing to get to somewhere.
To get nowhere. To get
Exactly.
literally nowhere. When you said oh, you're doing it to yourself, my mind immediately went to like the whole universe doing things to you is like being driving like that in front of you. It's like the whole universe is that petty person to you.
It
And that was a funny
no,
thought.
it's true. I mean, they're the entirety of existence and reality, and so are you. And so you're having this experience with someone who is probably taking life a little too seriously. And
Yeah, no, that ain't me. I feel like that's like a lesson for me is like I will get frustrated because I'm like, everyone's taking life too seriously. Like, I'll just be like in a room of people, like at the yoga studio. Let's say yoga's out, and like, it's like, what did I say today that someone took too seriously? Okay, so someone randomly was talking about how if you go to a temple, they have to like feed you food. And I was just like, oh, let's go test it out then. Because I'm just like, I don't know why you're sharing this, kind of random. Here's like a fun comment for the room, right?
Mhm.
And then I don't know if it's they didn't get my tone or they didn't but or they just wanted, but they responded like, well, actually, like you wouldn't want to test that out. You would just want to like know that. So if you ever were in need, you could then utilize it. But like, da da da. And I was like, oh, like I wasn't, it's not that deep, bro. Like, I was like, what?
Mhm.
And in
Yeah.
those moments, I'm like, wait a second, like, do you just not read sarcasm? Like, I don't think I was being sarcastic, but I was like, like, I was very fun and bubbly. Do they not like that? Or is it that they don't understand and they're just, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know why they would share that. But that could be an example of someone who took what you said and they filtered it through their
Their
idea,
lens. Yeah.
yeah, how they see the world, and they just filtered it as maybe she's being a bitch, or like that was like a bitchy comment.
Because
But
my intentions were very pure and like fun and loving, and like I felt like my tone wasn't. But then again, yeah, I don't know how they perceive it. I can never experience myself outside of myself.
yeah, exactly. And I was thinking, if you said that, and like if you just said that in front of me, I'd be like, yeah, fuck it, let's find out.
Because it's very much
Because
like I never thought about like just randomly going to a temple for food. I'm like, now my head's turning. I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
good man. Like I don't know, I could go for some cereal or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that. I don't know if they're. I don't think they're gonna. She was saying that like because of whatever reasons, like they're obligated to feed you, and I was like, wait, does this work for homeless people? Like, can homeless people eat here? I'm like, what? I'm like, did I just solve the homeless crisis?
No, that's
But
such
then
an
again,
interesting thing to say.
it's my natural way of working through like some interaction like that that's in public, it's in front of a lot of people, is like to be that very fun, lighthearted, not very serious. And so I get confused when the other person is being like hyper serious, and I'm like, wait, like I don't understand why we're not on the same page.
Yeah, so I would, that was yeah, that was an authentic response from you. That was like what at the point in your life that all of your experiences had accumulated for you to just say whatever you said because you thought it was appropriate to the moment, but you don't know what you don't know how what you say is going to be perceived. I have no idea if that sentence made any sense.
No, literally. There was actually someone said something to me the other day, and they said, however it's received is how it's meant to be. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, because the other person, I like that. Because the other person, how they're receiving it is because it's so you're saying your comment according to your reality, and they're
Mm-hmm.
receiving it according to their reality. So it's like there's almost like two barriers that it goes through. Like it goes through your experience, and then it comes through their experience. So it's like it's not like there's a lot of room for error in terms of how things are perceived.
Yeah, yeah. Socializing's hard.
For real.
Socializing's so hard. Like I have so many moments where I'm like, I have this common theme of like, I am myself, right? I'm 100% myself. And then I like, because of the way the other person reacts, I feel bad that I was myself.
Huh. Okay.
And it's like a mind fuck because it's like, well, I don't want that to make me insecure. I'm good. And then is it like, and I'll notice like with certain people, right? Very specifically, like, oh, I only feel insecure around this one person. Is it actually because they're insecure, or am I just I only project insecurity on this person? Like it's weird. Like I'm like I don't know if I'm feeling how they feel because I'm very sensitive and I can kind of I just feel whatever environment that I'm in. I don't want to like label this other person as insecure, but it's like it's weird. It's like I don't understand why I can feel confident around these 99 people. Then this one person, I don't feel comfortable around them. Like, is that them? Is that this one person? Is it my subconscious aware of something my conscious is not?
Yeah. And maybe another way to look at it is you're taking ownership of your insecurity, but everyone feels insecure. So in a way, no one is insecure
Of
because
course.
people have everyone has access to the feeling of insecurity. And I would say whatever mindset and how present you're feeling um, can allow you to realize why you're in, because I think of like emotions as rooms, like like locations. Like I am in the insecure room right now. What's going on here? What's going on in this room? Maybe why am I here? And what is it showing me? And also knowing that I'm not going to be in this room forever. Insecurity is a temporary feeling, just like all feelings are. And the only way that feelings stick around is because you're focusing and you're giving it more power. Um, did you
Do
have
you
it?
feel like do you feel like you live more in your head or more in your heart?
I would say can I say both?
Sure, you can
because
say both.
they're both me. And I think if what you're saying is the head is more of, would you say the head is more logically driven and the heart is more emotionally driven?
I guess that's a way to go by it, but I'm more thinking like it's kind of like a state of being, like living from the heart, or like living from the mind, like like a dog is like a heart space creature, right? It's all about love and living from the heart. It's not gonna be petty the way a cat might be petty. A cat is more, withdrawn, right? Living in the mind, and they're in, cat reality. And I'm not saying, are you a dog or a cat, but
Interesting.
it's
No,
like,
yeah, you're using them to illustrate a point. Um, and I see what you mean with the dog thing. Like they tend to live from their heart because they're just so accepting and loving
yeah,
every
yeah.
moment that they're in. Yeah. And I don't know. I thought of like, but I feel like some dogs know what they're doing if they're being a little brat.
Oh, there's always going to be a cat like dog and a dog like cat.
That's true because there is
But
everything.
I like what you said about the emotions as rooms, and I want to ask, like, where did that come from?
Uh, it came from I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, Dualistic Unity. And those are the retreats that I go on as well. And one of the co-hosts, his name is Ray. He mentioned that I think on a podcast or maybe at one of the retreats, and I really like that because it's true. Like whenever you're feeling a certain emotion, it is like you're in a room
Yeah, it's
because
kind of,
you're
that's
all
all you
out.
know at that point.
Exactly, and you can recognize that the room is just a part of the house, and you're the house too. Like life would be, people strive for one emotion, I feel like, and that's like happiness in life.
Oh my God, yeah.
Not realizing that the
But
fullness of
chasing
life,
happiness is what causes the suffering.
exactly. And they
You're on
don't
a
even
hamster
see that.
wheel. Yeah.
And that's, I would say that's like one of the products of capitalism is that you're promised happiness if you
And
just
then you never
follow
get it.
those directions.
Yeah, if you do this, then you can be happy. Oh, if I do this, then later. Oh, if I retire, then I can be happy. Bitch, she was never happy though.
For
Yeah.
real. Actually, I had a interesting example. So I guess like at work, I was kind of in terms of work, like I was expressing to my dad one day that I was happy where I was at in work and that I'm okay with not getting promoted because I just liked what I was doing. And he was like, "Well, maybe you should be like following what your boss is telling you to do in order to move up the ladder." And I'm like, "But no, I mean, I don't." Okay, so I went through high school, I went through college, I got the degree, I got the job. What more could you want? And my dad was like, "Well, the company just wants you to be successful." And it's like, okay, does the company want you to be successful or do you want me to be successful according to what your idea of success is? And
Ding, ding, ding.
yeah, like dab on him. uh, So people like my dad is just one example, but that's an expression of that chasing happiness mentality, is that you'll never, as long as it's something that you're chasing, you'll never have it.
Yeah, that by chasing it, you are pushing it away. That is correct.
By chasing something, you're implying that it's running away from you. I did want to ask, because you mentioned something interesting earlier. And it was when you were with your friend in Oregon, and you were saying that you changed too much for a lot of people in your life. And this friend in Oregon was like maybe a rare kind of person that was accepting of how quickly you change, because to others who want to stay in that safe box, what you're doing is threatening them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think that's a maybe talk about that, because I've seen you go through like a lot of different like outwardly expressions. Like I've seen your hair change colors a lot, and I've seen your hair like just change shape a lot too.
Yeah, I'm like one of those venomous frogs with the colorful hair that wards off predators. Yeah, it's very rare for me to have those close friends that are real and here for all the growth and everything, and then that also stay in my life. I feel like the biggest theme of my life is like the people are always changing. Of course, other than my like immediate family, but my chosen family has changed dramatically, over like months, years, like, and I gotta say, like, at this point right now in my life, finally at 25, I actually have real fucking friends and I have the best support system that I've ever had. But it took me so long to like slowly figure that out. Like, so many friend groups that I used to be in, those people were never actually my friends. And that's like been a really hard lesson that like it's kind of like a veil was lifted from me, especially ever since I got back from traveling. All my old college friends or party friends or rave friends or even like some people that I thought were like my best friends, it's just like a veil lifts and suddenly I realize like you aren't actually like my friend, I guess. And it's like maybe in the past, the bar was lower, but like through having that amazing friend in Portland, right? I see actually like this is actually what real, friendship is like. And my friend in Portland, we meet once a week on FaceTime and we have an accountability call every single week, no matter how bad the week is or what's going on or like shit's hitting the fan, like life's a roller coaster. But so far, all of 2024, up until the end of August right now, we check in once a week, go over our goals, we call each other out on our bullshit, we ask each other for real, honest advice about whatever's on our heart that day. And that has been a game changer and it resonates throughout every aspect of my life. Friendships, all the things I'm building career-wise, art-wise, my spiritual journey. I feel the best I've ever felt. And it's all because I have like real fucking friends now in my life. And it's like, like I can fucking go to these people for anything, which is crazy because I think 90% of my life I would just settle for fake shit, fake friends, fake people using me, recovering people pleaser over here. Absolutely. And I guess it's really hard for me, even still sometimes with, I want to trust people too easily, but like vetting people is so important. Like, did I tell you? Yeah, I told you about like my trip to fucking West Virginia August 1st. That was insane.
No, I
Did
don't think.
I? I thought I did with the weird
Maybe tell it again.
shit. Okay, I'll tell you the story. So I've been teaching yoga at a rock climbing gym. And because I teach there, I go to their classes for free. So I start going to acro yoga twice a week for a couple months. And I feel like I know this community well enough. I've hung out with these people maybe once or twice outside of acro, but I mean, it's like a 5-hour class sometimes, and you're with these people multiple times, maybe multiple times a week or multiple times a month. So I feel like, I still have my yoga friends, but I have this other group now, like these acro people. And this one girl asks me, "Oh, like come camping with me." And I'm like, "I don't know." Da, da, da. She's like, "Oh, it's spiritual." And I had told her about like how I've been to an ashram and I've done plant medicine, and like she knows what my definition of spiritual is. So I'm like, okay. She's like, "Yeah, they'll have like a sweat lodge, like they'll have Native American ceremonies, like it'll be cool." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like sounds new to me. And I didn't go camping at all this year. So I was like, I want to go camping. And so we go. The plan was to go for like a whole weekend, but we get there at midnight, weird to get there so late. And like, I don't know how much detail I should go in, but she's
It
like,
doesn't matter. It's a podcast.
she's like, "We can't park at the campsite." And I'm like, "Why can't we park at the campsite?" She's like, "Get whatever you need for the night. We're hiking a mile to the campsite." And she's like, "We can't wake anyone." I'm like, "This is kind of weird. It's midnight. I'm in a different state. I barely know you." And she's been like picking my brain, like trying to dig up my trauma, like the whole 3-hour ride. So I'd already cried to her already that day. So I'm like really vulnerable. I'm like, "What's going on?" Anyway, so it's me, the girl who brought me, another girl drove separately, and the three of us walk in the complete darkness with only the flashlight on an iPhone to find this camp. And this girl's like, "You can't set up your tent. You can't sleep in your tent. Like, we're not doing all that." She's like, "You need to sleep in this stranger's tent." And I'm like, "Well, I texted you before the trip that my boundary was that I wanted to sleep in my own tent. Like, it's kind of weird. You're going to completely wreck my boundary immediately." And so that was awkward. So me and then the random other girl who drove separately slept in a tent with this stranger. And the girl who drove me, she just slept in the grass outside and she had the best sleep of her life. Couldn't be me. So I'm in the tent now with two people I don't know. I don't have my belongings. I'm confused. It's dark. I don't know where I am. And I lay down and I'm like, okay, let me just like try to sleep. And like the wind is like whispering to me, and I'm like, what the fuck? Eventually, like open my eyes, and like they're the stranger whose tent it was. She says to me, "You know not to look them in the eyes, right?"
What?
And I go, "What the fuck are you talking about, bitch? What the fuck, dude?" She's like, "Don't look them in the eyes." And I'm like, "Okay, what the fuck's going on?" She's like, "The dancers." And I'm like, what dancers? Like, are these people? Is the spirits? Like, what dancers? Please tell me. She's like, "No, in the ceremony, like the people participating, they're called the dancers." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, no one told me that." And she's like, "Oh, she didn't tell you, didn't she?" And I'm like, "She didn't tell me what? Like, other than not to look them in the eyes." And she says, "Yeah, you're gonna watch this ceremony where the men get pierced twice on the front, twice on the back, and they have to rip these piercings out. And it's a ceremony, and it's like a Native American thing." And I'm like, "I've never heard of this in my entire life." I'm like, no one told me that I was gonna have to see bloodshed here. I thought this was like a family function. I thought there were going to be kids here. And she's like, "Yeah, like there are kids here." I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. I'm like, okay. So it's 1 a.m. I sleep maybe 2 hours. 7 a.m. They're like, "Put on a skirt, cover your skin. We're going to ceremony." I'm like, they're like, "Yeah, you can't show flesh." I'm like, classic. Love how we treat women like this. It's 90 degrees out. Let's go. So I get all, burk it up, JK. Just put on a skirt and like a long ass t-shirt.
What in the midsummer is going on?
I know. So no, literally this was midsummer. Like so I have a friend who's in a writer's room in Hollywood, and I cannot wait to tell her this story. Anyway, 7 a.m. They're like, "You can't have breakfast. You can't." I'm like, "Oh, because I have all my food still in the car, and it's like not in a cooler bag." And I'm like, "I want to go get the food out of the car. It's 90 degrees out." They're like, "No, you have to go to ceremony." I'm like, "Fine, okay." We go to ceremony, and I see all these, truck driver, beer gut, out of shape white men. And I'm like, these are the Native Americans? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, maybe I thought they would look Native American. Maybe that's just me. I'm like, okay, I'm accepting of whatever this is so far. And they all have little whistles in their mouth. There's maybe like 10 to 15 participants in the circle. It's literally looks like Midsommar. There's the altar is like a giant circle. The people are in there. There's a tree in the middle with like all the ribbons and colorful things tied on it and flowers, whatever. There's like bison skulls everywhere. And like you can't walk into like the ceremony space. You're kind of on the outskirts. And they're all whistling, and like every out breath is like the whistle. Like so they're like shh, 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 shh. So like I guess they're in like a trance state because they're constantly like breathing like that. And they're shirtless and they're wearing skirts too. And I asked like the weird stranger girl I slept in the tent with, I'm like, so what's the purpose of all this? Like, why is this going on? And she said, well, women bleed every month, and it's no fair that the men don't bleed every month. So this ceremony balances out the masculine and feminine energy. And I'm like, oh, this is just a reason to torture men? Like, I'm in. I love it. Okay, let's go. But then I realized one of these participants is like fully crippled, like paralyzed. And I'm like, well, isn't it kind of weird that this guy can't walk, but even he's participating? Like, it seems like all the people here are like really out of shape and they don't seem very well. Like, is there any medical team here? And she's like, no, we don't do that. I'm like, oh. She goes, all these people signed something saying that, you know, if they die, it's like, it's not our fault. And it's honestly an honor to like die in ceremony. I'm like, oh, this is fucking West Virginia right now. I've never been to West Virginia. I didn't know they roll like this. And I'm still confused, like, because there's like gingers and shit, like people with like orange hair. I'm like, are you sure these are Native Americans? Like, I don't know. So the other girl who drove separately, we start trauma bonding. She's like, yeah, this is kind of weird. And I'm like, thank you. Finally, someone thinks this is also kind of weird. She's, you know, opening up to me. She's like, yeah, I'm actually Native American. And like, I don't think this is right. I'm like, oh, that's eye-opening to me. Anyway, the girl who brought me, she's like, I wish I could be pierced. She's like, I want to be pierced. I want to be in the ceremony. And I'm just like, you want them? And like, I'm talking no medical staff. Like, it's like the random chief dude who looks like some truck driver pierces. So you know where your collarbones are? 2 separate piercings, each like a couple inches long, like piercing a bison bone through the, you know, twice on your chest. And then they tie that to the tree, and you have to rip these piercings out of you yourself.
Oh my God.
No medical team. They plug the wounds with tobacco afterwards. Oh. And these people have not eaten in 4 days, and they have not drinking water in 4 days. It is 90 degrees out. They are not in the shade. They are in the sun, and they're dancing. They're stomping their feet. They're not really dancing. They're called the dancers, but they're more like the stompers. They just kind of stomp their feet and they do their whistle thing. And it sounds like it doesn't, none of the experience is very pleasant. Like I kind of like that it was so off-putting, because I'm like, okay, like, you know, like, not everything should be easy and pleasurable, but like this was something. I was like, I don't know if I've been shelved, because I don't know. My parents used to beat me as a kid, so I'm like, I'm not like, I can be around violence, and it doesn't always like bother me too much. But there were times where like I had to really look away, you know, like watching these people like pull this shit out of their body, like hearing the snap of their flesh as they just pull their skin open. It's, you know, kind of like the 2 girls that went, I guess, with me, they were both like, they didn't have the reaction that I had. I kind of like, I winced, you know, like I like cringed. I would look away. Of course you can't look them in the eyes, but you can look at their bleeding wounds. And so that was the front too, is they tied to the tree and then you pull them out. But then the back, again, 2 separate buffalo needles things through the back, the upper back. You have to pull 7 bison skulls around the fucking altar thing multiple times. And these skulls are huge, and they're tied together with ropes, and they're tied to the person's back. And these people are like really old, like overweight white men, and they're grunting and screaming and moaning like pulling this, and you see their skin like stretch like so far because these people are old too. They got these stretchy skin, and then eventually it snaps, and it's just like, ugh.
Oh,
And
man.
the worst thing, I didn't actually watch it at all because I couldn't do it. But I was talking to this one dude, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm participating tomorrow." Like, "Oh, what are they doing to you?" "They're gonna pierce me and hang me from the tree." I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" They're like, "Yeah, they're gonna hang me." I'm like, "Why?"
They're gonna execute you.
No, not like hang by the neck, just like pierce through the flesh and just hang them by the piercings until they rip out.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just here like,
Oh,
what part of you is, and I've noticed because I would like, there was one moment where I was sitting by myself and I was just like listening to people talk. And some of the dancers, the participants, they were talking to each other about their cocaine addictions from like years ago. And I had this theory that these people are like addicts in recovery and they're using this violence to stop them from relapsing to drugs. It was kind of like my theory. Um, I kind of noticed that like those people are more masochistic, I guess, to themselves. Like they're not against like, oh, it's a situation where I could die. It's kind of similar to like, oh, if I do these drugs, I might die. So I don't know. I don't want to assume, but that was a theory that I came up with while I was there. And there were a couple points there where I would break down crying because they were doing this ceremony like 6 times a day, every day. And the girl who brought me, I'd be like, "Hey, can I go to the car and get my stuff? Like, can I have my tent?" And she'd be like, "It's more important that I go to ceremony." She's like, "It's my spirituality that I like, this is so important to me. This is like the most important thing in the world." And I was like, "You brought me here and I'm not okay."
she's
And she didn't really
protecting
go fuck.
heavy.
Yeah, she kept telling people that she was like looking out for me and taking care of me, and I'm here like I'm miserable. And if it weren't for that other girl who drove separately, like I don't know how I would have made it back to fucking Philadelphia. Because this girl who brought me, like this place is a gated community with a code. She wouldn't give me the code to get in or out. I didn't have a car. We were like 5 miles from a fucking Sheets. And this girl was talking about driving 6 hours or 3 hours south to go rock climbing. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought like we're doing this and then going home. And she was kind of just like, oh, well, like maybe I'll drive you, maybe I won't. And I'm like, so now you're saying you don't even know if like you're just abandoning me.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God this other, and there are moments where like I would be breaking down crying and like these people like, not the participants, but like other people in their community would be like consoling me and like telling me to like basically like stay in touch with them and like, go to their ceremonies and like basically trying to get me to like join their shit. And
Mm-hmm.
I was such an emotionally vulnerable place that like I could have like been swayed into this shit. I was all over the place, dude. I thought I was going crazy at one point. Like there was a point where I thought I was crazy. And this girl who drove separately was like, we were on Friday, because we got there Wednesday night at midnight. This girl on Friday at like noon was like, we're leaving. We're telling them we're going to, because the shower was by the exit. She's like, we're telling them we're going to shower and we're just leaving. We packed up whatever shit we had I got my shit out of the other girl's car, put it in this girl's car, and we just Irish goodbye that place on Friday around like sometime in the afternoon. Just did not look back.
Look that.
Fuck that, right, dude?
How much longer? I mean, like, so it started Wednesday. Did it go to
Well,
like
this is like a whole weekend event. Like they were trying to get me to stay there longer.
Jesus Christ? That's how they do that. They probably get people really emotionally vulnerable, and the ones who are, I don't know, like weak enough to be like weak enough that they'll just join because maybe it'll
Yeah,
sway them.
it felt
But
like because the girl who brought me said, "Oh, they're trying to get more young people to like go to this." I'm like, "Oh, okay, interesting." I'm like, "Oh God."
so they
Yeah,
don't do anything to the girls. Like
not
you,
that I know of. But okay, they had this thing where if you were on your period, you weren't allowed to watch any of that. So you could only watch it if you weren't on your period, and you had to have all your skin covered.
wow. I would just say I'm on my period.
Oh my God. Well, they asked when I first got in the tent and the girl was telling me not to look in the eyes. She asked me if I'm on my period, and I just said no because like I didn't know why she would be asking me that. So I told the truth. But then later I figured it out and I was like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah. And it's like all a story that they're holding on to that just that like it's some sort of like original sin to be a guy.
And then they were telling me that there was this prophecy. And wait till you hear this. Their prophecy is that the Native Americans wanted the white men to come and to take their culture and to absorb their culture and use it as their own.
What?
That was their prophecy. I was like, can I get this in writing? I need proof because I wasn't allowed to take any photos or video, of course. I was like, please, can somebody give me any ounce of proof? Like, all I have is the girl who drove me home to corroborate my story, which she does. She completely corroborates or I can't fucking speak. Corroborated my story. But yeah, no, and like the first day I got back, thank God no one was here because I live at my parents' house. No one was here. I just sat outside in the pool naked, drank a glass of wine, smoked a blunt. I was like, I don't fucking know what's real anymore.
Oh my God.
I was just
Dude.
like, I was burning all my sage. I was like trying to cleanse my whole aura like the whole day. I was like, I don't know what that was. Because
So
the theme is wherever the fuck I am, I feel super intensely like that place. Like there's something like I don't know if everyone's like this. Like the girl I was who rescued me, her name's Corinne. She's great. She is a very consistent energy and she feels her own energy everywhere she goes. And like something I struggle with is like not that I lose myself, but I feel overwhelmingly the energies of my environment to the point where like I get if it's like the place that I was, like I'm like drowning.
mhm. It's like you're an
Uh,
exposed nerve.
yeah, like I feel everything way too much, and it like if I don't have like a person or something to ground me or a practice, it's like and it's a theme of my life is like I have these extremes, highs and lows, but I've been able to get them from being like during like when I was in college, like a depressive episode would last like months for me. And now, like when I was at the ashram, it was like 2 days and I was able to snap myself out of it. And then months, a year later here, it's like I rarely like maybe I'll have like, I'll have moments where I'm like sad and stuff, but it's like I am not in the same boat that I used to be. Like I've done so much amazing progress. It's insane. Like I can't believe the person I am compared to me a year ago or 2 years ago. But still, like no matter what, I'm like the environment impacts me so fucking much that I have to be so fucking picky about who I'm around, where I am. Like your energy is your greatest currency, you know?
Yeah. It's your presence, your time and attention. And for you to go through like just describing like everything that you went through and like here you are, you're still here expressing yourself. That's pretty cool. It's pretty admirable, honestly. Um that's like life is fucking nuts.
Dude, right? I oh my goodness. Who writes this shit?
For real. I mean, it's like it's the potential for everything that could ever possibly happen just happening right now. Like, but we can only experience it through the lens of time and the lens of ourselves. But I mean, we're all one. We're all experiencers of ourselves. Just
Yeah, go experience yourself pulling flesh out of your body.
yeah, I think I'm gonna pass on that.
You're gonna give it a you don't want to try the white man's Native American culture?
It's so interesting that like no one I don't know, like everyone was like really out of shape and dehydrated and starving. Like that's
Yeah,
bad.
it was such a weird vibe. I couldn't even find anything about it online. Like I think I need to post this on Reddit because like people need to know like not to go there.
Yes, do that because I had no idea this was a thing in West
Dude,
Virginia.
and this is just bumblefuck people in West Virginia. Imagine what like the elite people are doing. Like imagine what Hollywood does. Now I believe in Bohemian Grove. Now I believe in
Bohemian
all that
Grove.
shit. I saw the small scale version. I don't want to see the large scale version of this with actual security people. That would be horrifying.
Dude, I mean, yeah, I've seen some videos of like ceremonies there, but I'm not too sure on the details of it, but I know that it is a place where fucked up things happen. And then I also think of like Epstein's Island.
Oh, great. A great
Just-
one. So it's like Disneyland.
yeah. I mean, there's so much more to what's actually happening than we think.
Yeah. It's like when you pick up a rock and then you see all those little cockroaches underneath it.
Dude, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And you shed light to it and they all run away.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely post that on Reddit because that's a wild ass story. I'm glad that you were able to express it, and to anyone listening, that was a wild ride, and I hope you learned something about reality from that story.
Dude, yeah. The lesson is really to vet people before you be alone with them out in the wilderness.
Yes, I would say that's
Yeah, like
yeah,
don't even trust people's words. You have to trust their consistent actions. You have to really vet people of all types, friends, business partners, everything. Vet the fuck out of everybody.
so
Just you're pure hearted doesn't mean other people are.
yeah. So interesting question here. If someone were to come up to you in the future and suggest something similar, to go out into the wilderness for a few days for a retreat, how would you react?
Well, it depends on who's asking. If it's my best friend in Portland, like I would go camping with her and do our because I would trust her and I would do our shit. But like even friends that like used to be my friends that I'm not even that close with, it's like I'm not really trying to hang out with people that aren't like 100% fuck yeah aligning with like my values, my where I'm headed in life. It's like no offense to people that I vaguely know or acquaintances or old friends, like so much love to you, but it's like I just don't fuck with so many people anymore. So it's if it's not like my ride or die people, like I'm not down. Like of course there's like like I like to travel around and like backpack by myself. So I will like kind of like stay here and there for like a night or two and like hop around, but like people always have my location. Like I always have Uber on my phone. I can always escape, Like I'm very crafty. I always have an exit plan. But when it comes to like the middle of the woods, it's a different story. Always drive your maybe I would drive my own car. Maybe my lesson is not to drive with people. Always have your own escape route.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, it depends who's asking me
definitely.
and what the intention is. Because I learned the people I went to Joshua Tree with, my intention was to like just like have a nice time just existing. But the people I went with, they wanted to get fucked up. And then it made me really upset because I was like, I'm here for one night. I get to be in Joshua Tree and y'all just want to get trashed and scream and yell at each other. I was like, I hate this.
Hmm. Yeah, like I just want to
So,
take it all in.
yeah, yeah. So I'm really, 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 really fucking picky.
I very much resonate with what you're saying. I would like one reason why I'm all the way out here in California is because I just feel like there's no one in my life that resonates with my mentality. And that I just needed some space. And it's a lot of space because it's all the way across the country. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just like I just don't want to. be around like 98% of people.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
it's good to be a hermit.
And I think it's because, and I'm like, me and you are, I feel like on this similar path because we've kind of just, we're tired of living up to others. We're tired of living for others. We want to live for ourselves. Um,
Mhm.
and we were just courageous enough to step through that process and like do like big shit like this, like just live in California. Or it doesn't even have to be like a huge
It
trip.
doesn't have to be California. Yeah, but like a
Yeah.
lot of people are like, "Oh, I could never do that." And I like stop
Yes.
people in their tracks all the time and I'm like, "I just did it. Why can't you do it?" Like you're and then they give me an excuse or like five excuses and I'm like, "You realize those are excuses. Like they're not actually stopping you."
Exactly. You can, it's so easy to give yourself reasons to not do something.
Yeah. And that's speaking from the mind and not the heart.
Yep. It's like
Sorry. That was my whole point.
oh
Like
shit.
these people are always just chattering, 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 like mind chatter. And I'm like, what you're saying isn't like you're not speaking your truth. Your truth is that you saw that I did this and inspired you. And low key, you wish you could do that, but you feel like you can't for some like just speak your truth. Say like that say you feel stuck and you want to do these things. Like you don't have to like have the confidence to immediately do it. It's like it's just people just want to give these excuses and talk about the same bullshit, the same stories, the same narratives over and over and over and over again.
Because they're just comfortable with what's familiar.
They're comfortable in their suffering. And it's like I knew okay, like when I was younger, I was miserable, atheist. Like I had my fun. I had quote unquote friends. Now that I know they weren't real, but like but I always knew there is more to life than just the boring old that shit, you know? I knew like I didn't believe in God, but I was miserable. I didn't believe in anything because I was raised to kind of think that, life's kind of fucked up and there's nothing you can do about it. And I
So
was just like, I know there's more to life than this.
same. Literally, like I was like, I was growing up and I'm like taught the same thing that you were, that there's suffering, everyone suffers. That's just it. And but it's
Yeah.
no one was willing to question why and where does the suffering come from? And everyone is just like not open to the idea that you don't have to resist your suffering, that you can stay in it and like really learn how it fits into your existence. But but if you don't want to look at that, then you'll just settle on the conclusion that life is fucked. And and that's all we can do is just kind of sit here in our own homes, never leave our hometown, never do anything else other than go out to drink every weekend at a bar. And,
Lame.
and I'm
Drink at
like,
home.
for real. And then I'm just like, in my mind, going through my youth and my younger years, like I'm just thinking of like, why do I exist? And what else is out there? And so I finally gotten to this point now where I'm like 27 and I feel myself. And maybe someone at my in my hometown would be like, you're crazy for going to California by yourself for 3 months. But
No, you're
is
not
it,
crazy.
is it crazy to do that, or is it crazy to never leave Philly?
Bores. Yeah, I think it's crazy to not try. Cause
Yeah.
like for me, it's like it's always the biggest regret is like if I didn't try. Like okay, after I played like my DJ set, my first set at Warehouse on Watts, and my first thought afterwards was, oh, okay, like I'm not as passionate about DJing as I thought I would be at this point. And that was just where I was at. But I was like happy about that because I was like, but I fucking did it though. I taught myself how to fucking DJ. I stuck to it for 2 years, and then boom, I got to play like my favorite venue. Like slay. Like it doesn't have to be like my end all be all or my career or anything, but it's like I did it. I tried it. I
Mhm.
Now I know that like I do enjoy DJing, but it's like I don't need to do that every day of my life, you know?
I'm the same thing. I DJ'd a little music festival in the middle of Pennsylvania, and I DJ'd my friend's wedding, and I spent
Damn, a wedding gig.
year. Yeah, that was a
Oh,
lot of fun. I learned a lot. But then I also got into like music production, and like you know, you see DJs who are just getting more and more gigs. They're getting more noticed.
mm-hmm.
Like John Summit, like a good example of someone who's like just shot to the top through their hard work and dedication. And it's like, damn, part of me is like, fuck, I wanna commit myself like that to music production. But then the other part of me is like, but I feel like I'm more than just a DJ. And I don't
Yeah.
go through this interesting mind game where I'm like, am I afraid of committing to a path like that? Or am I really more of a jack of all trades kind of thing where I like to dip my fingers into different forms of self-expression? And then I think recently I'm just thinking like, I think I just got to keep doing that. Just keep trying things without
Yeah, keep
judgment.
dipping. Yeah. I think like we have this pressure of like, oh, I'm this age now. Like, what have I built for myself? Like, where's my career? Like, oh, and then you compare, oh, this person's 27 and they're touring the world DJing. And this person's 19 and she's better at music production. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, wouldn't you rather still be you though? You know, like I don't know, like you don't have to have most of these people who are so successful, like they're also the most like unhappy. Like I remember I met a DJ who's like really big, like touring, you know, she's huge. And then she was just like, I don't know, like I thought it was really interesting that she like wanted Coke. I was like, wait, I was like, why? I was like, not to say that that means she's not like happy or not successful or anything, but it was just kind of, I was like, I feel like that's like the least like not to say so like okay, like mushrooms to me are like super like high vibe and like other substances. Not to like put labels on it, but I was just like, huh, you've achieved all this and I feel like people who do blow, it's like they're always chasing something. It's like in the Sanskrit word is like there's like Raja or the Rajistic, like the Rajistic culture, like it's very go, 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 go. Is it
Mhm.
that's not the three gunas. It's like the three other. Is it the?
Sorry, just to go back, you said she wouldn't what? Poke?
She wanted to do blow, and I was like, that's
Oh,
so interesting to me. I was like, I guess like so in my head, like famous people, like they eat healthy and they do all they can to like because they're doing so well. So I'm like I'm confused as to like, but I guess it's also the DJ party culture. But I'm just here like I don't know, like all the famous like comedians I follow, they all had to get sober for their career. I guess comedians a little off the edge, but I don't know. I think it's so weird. And then when I was in LA, I went to one like house gathering of like, you know, in a really, really nice house in LA and like just people that on paper or on Instagram are like way more successful than me. And they were like the most miserable people. Like it was fun
really?
being there. I had fun. But it was like the one girl who was like the model who's like getting booked for these amazing modeling gigs. Cause like you've seen my Instagram. Like, you know I want to be a model. It's like pretty obvious. I try pretty hard to pretend that I'm a model. And so in my head, I meet this girl. I'm like, oh my God, like you must have the most fun life. I'm like, you literally are living my dream. And she's like, no, she's like, I hate everything. And she immediately just like does everything she can to get as fucked up as possible. And I'm like, wait a second. I was like, you're telling me, and I'm in LA, so I should have like read the signs, but I was like, you're not happy? And she's like, no, I'm not, I'm miserable. And I was just like, oh, because at that point, I was traveling, backpacking California by myself, having the best time of my life. I was having like when I was in LA in October 2023, I had the most fun that's humanly possible. So that was my vibe. And then to talk to these people who are living my dream, right? These are these models in LA, photographers, DJs, the graphic designers, like, and they're all like, I'm like, you have a great house. They're like, oh, it's not big enough. Then and I'm like, oh, you have this amazing da-da-da. They're like, it's not good enough. They're all miserable because they're all chasing.
Yes, and
But if you
you
just noticed you have it all, you have everything.
you have that, and you like you're full. Your every moment is a complete full
Yeah,
experience.
the first card of the tarot, the Fool card, card 0.
A Yeah, man. So it's like when you look at people that have achieved your quote unquote dreams, it's realizing that those aren't really they're really not your dreams.
Yeah,
They're
and I realized, oh, I already did chase my dream. I still maybe living at my parents' house and I don't have like a real job, but like I literally do whatever the fuck I want, with some discipline, not a lot, but like I literally like I teach yoga. I love doing that. Sometimes I'll DJ. I love it when I do that. Like I get to, have meet interesting people and like no, I don't get to talk to like, all my heroes and I don't, I'd love to meet like Duncan Trussell or something, but like at the end of the day, like my life's pretty damn great. I am living mighty fine. I
I
read all my favorite books. I do all my favorite hobbies. I did it. I'm great.
Yeah, that's really again, I admire that about you. That you don't follow the hustle and grind culture. You're really I like that one TikTok you made where you're eating the Ben and Jerry's ice cream. And you're like,
Yeah, it's
I
funny.
just pondered my orb today. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's a completely valid thing to do.
Yeah,
Don't
people are like, what, like, show me what you did today. I'm like, I literally had to stare at this orb.
Yeah, that's awesome. I yeah, I don't know what else to go. Do you want to wrap up or do you have anything else?
We can pull a tarot card.
All right, fuck it.
Fuck it. Okay.
Yeah,
Tell
pulling
me when to stop.
stop.
Okay. We're pulling the top card on the classic Rider-Waite deck. The Two of Swords. It's a blindfolded figure with two swords, a blue sky, a crescent moon. Swords is the suit of air, right? The wit. We're talking about that mental chatter. And they're blindfolded, they can't see. So usually it's about decision, and they're holding the two swords. Some type of internal justice system, maybe.
Okay. What do you like? I've never worked with tarot, so what does that do?
I mean, sometimes I just pull them because I want to pull them. There's not always, I guess. Well, we're doing a podcast, which is conversation, right? This suit, right? There's like the four suits, kind of like in playing cards. This suit, is mercurial. It does rule communication. And it's given a very balanced reading in that sense of like it's a very balanced card, right? It's symmetrical. There's the two swords, one's on the left, one's on the right. It's given a very balanced, I guess, mercurial vibe. Would you
Okay.
like a clarifying card or
I don't know what that means,
would
but
you like I could pull an animal card for you. Do you want an animal?
sure.
Okay. This deck is really cute. They're all animals. Okay. Again, you can tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Oh, you got a bat.
Hey.
And this card also has a moon on it. Both cards we pulled had a moon.
Oh, that's cool.
And we're filming it. For me, it's nighttime, so very lunar. right? The bat's a nocturnal animal. Maybe it's giving darkness.
Okay. What kind of sunset here? So, like the cards, you read them and you're like, oh, that's kind of reflective of this moment or something.
I
Like,
mean, I didn't really ask anything. So if I ask something, then like usually the answers will make sense. But sometimes I'm just like, what wants to come out?
I got you. Cool.
Yeah.
Uh, okay.
That's how I close out. I'm like, let me pull some of these pieces of paper out of this pile.
No, I like that. That's a new experience for me. But cool. Maybe we'll wrap up here. Uh, so Lauren, like another video I've recently seen of you is like when you're talking about, I think it's time to offer, like say what you're offering, like what your services are. So I think it's time to plug away. Where can people
Oh my
find
God. What are
you
my
on
offerings? Well, I guess like my most obvious one, I teach yoga in person twice a week, in the Philadelphia area, but I'm also available for private yoga lessons, sessions of all types. In addition to yoga, I also do different types of like energy readings. I do a combination of astrology, different cards, oracle cards, archetypal readings, and alchemical counseling. And you're probably like, what the fuck is that? Basically, for the past like 4 years, I've just been obsessed with the 7 stages of alchemy and transmuting my own lead into gold, right? Not like physical lead into gold, but my shortcomings or my flaws or whatever I think are my flaws and making them my greatest strength. And I've done this process on myself so many times. I love it. I'm the happiest I've ever been. And if people want to kind of be walked through that process themselves, it's very flexible to go within any kind of area of your life you like to dissect. I'm happy to teach you what I know and offer my services as a guide. I love to chat. I love to share. So yeah, if you're interested with working with me for anything, you can always DM me on Instagram, on any of my accounts, which can be at graphic design is my burden, or at Lauren Frank Design, or just find my website, which is laurenfrankdesign.com. And of course, I do graphic design services as well. Graphic design is not my passion. I will tell you that. Right. I might be good at it, but I charge a lot because I don't love to do it.
There you go. All right. Well, listener, if you're interested in alchemy or any of what
You're interested in
Lauren,
alchemy, call this number.
any of what Lauren just described, I'm gonna put her ats in the description of the video. This will be on YouTube.
Yeah, don't go to West Virginia.
And don't go to that ceremony.
And just don't go to the woods. Don't go there.
I mean, you can do whatever you want. If
Dude,
you
what if those people come out after me for like talking about it?
Well, that's fun.
Okay, I'll let you close.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. And I'll catch everyone else on the next episode. Thank you.
Bye bye.